And here we go, and I'm enjoying the weather. We've got snow, we've got these beautiful mountains. I mean, just look at this place. I like to call it Utah. You might like to call it paradise. Just some footage here from the drone following me when I was doing some snowboarding. I like to do this in between off season and spring, and try to get in whenever there's snow. Of course, now we're nearing fall again, and we're actually starting week 1, so pretty much gonna be able to welcome this once again. Just get some highlights here. I was having so much fun this off season, and mostly because we've got some really cool updates. I don't know if you saw our team's recap for the off season and our spring game. The only thing I'm a little curious about is who's really going to take over as the starting quarterback, but these are all things I think we're going to get answered today by Coach Tyler Hunt, who is in his 2nd season. I thought did a really just a miracle working of a job in last season, where it seemed like we didn't have a solid roster plan, and he just made the team come together, very cohesive. What you're now seeing are some shots just of the landscape I was snowboarding down. Was just a really fun experience, really holistic experience, and now it's time to drill into our football season. Enough with the snowboarding, enough with all the X Games stuff. We're on to some football now. So first step of week 1, it's our bye week. For some reason, no week 1 opener. Usually we try to have those, but first step was to go ahead and try to get some footage of the high school games in Utah and some of the players we'll be looking to look at. And I gotta drive to all these games, and of course, me, I love to go and try to see Herriman if I can. I mean, I'm from Herriman, so it's kind of like getting to watch the school I grew up in, and I mean, they're just churning out talent now. And it was just a really surreal experience watching them dominate the last few years, and this year again looking to come in number 1 preseason rank for their conference, their district. But I think you got teams like Bingham is always a threat to them, and you have a lot of teams that could potentially take over this year. Of course, I'm still thinking they're gonna win it, but had to drive around to all those. Also got to watch Bingham's game. Didn't get as many highlights at that one. Didn't get to stay as long as I would have liked, but Highland, I think Highland has the potential this year. Of course, they've really stumbled out of the gates, and we'll kind of look through all the preseason rankings as we go forward. So let's go ahead and get started with this game, and you might know this kid. That's Eric Cook Jr. That's right, the son of our former head coach, Eric Cook, and he's really mobile. Kid plays a lot like I think Kyler Murray maybe when he was in college. Of course, Northridge, not one of the better teams recently since Darius McIntyre left him. You'll notice this kid, he kind of looks like Darius McIntyre at times. He's really fast, he's shifty. Here he dives into the end zone, a really athletic play there. But the story of the day for Herriman was their running back core. This is Emmett Cole, who is incredibly fast. This is the quarterback, Valentino Martinez, who doesn't have the best arm. As you can see there, he delivers a dot though while getting hit. Valentino Martinez is the best dual threat quarterback in the nation, though, I have to say. And then we get to see their offensive lineman, Carter Christopher, and then Eric Outlaw Jr., Eric Outlaw the Jr. This is Justin Bright, who is more of a shifty back, more of a break tackle back, one cut than Emmett Cole is. A few more highlights here of Eric Cook Jr. as he was trying everything he could to keep his team in the game. Man was putting on a Herculean effort and just couldn't get it done, unfortunately. Herriman, too much of an all-around threat, too much talent on both sides of the ball. Look at Emmett Cole here. He just gets to the outside faster than anyone else can. Valentino Martinez didn't even have to do it all with his legs today. Really was able to sit in the pocket and develop his arm. It is his weakest aspect of his game, but he looked great doing it. Another handoff here up the middle to Emmett Cole. Makes one cut, and then he just bursts to the end zone. No one even close to catching him. Actually, the safety got a little close. You'll see Herriman ended up dominating this game from start to finish, but of note, Eric Cook Jr., the senior, had a masterpiece of a game, over 500 yards, all-purpose. Unfortunately, not able to get it done. Let's go ahead and go to Bingham versus Highland. And how about this? This is Rome Wallace, the inside linebacker. Almost comes away with the pick there after laying the boom. Definitely more of a field general. He's not the fastest and most athletic guy. You can see here he actually gets blocked a lot, but able to get off that block and make the play still. Clint Smith, Highland's edge rusher, is one of the best edge rushers in the nation. Guy is fast. Athletically, he's a monster. The question is, does he have the intelligence to put it all together? And then, of course, this is the tight end for Bingham, where they're known for having pretty good tight ends. That's Walter Graham. He's mostly a blocker, but he can do a few other things in the pass game. Razzie Scott Royal, we just saw, is the safety, making plays, and Clint Smith almost comes away with a pick there. That's how fast he is. But Bingham overall dominated this game. Not a lot of seniors on their team, but still a really solid team that's going to contend with Herriman for the title this year. We'll go ahead and move to Timpview and Lone Peak, as this is on the kickoff here. Lone Peak favored heavily in this game. Lone Peak, though, stumbling out of the gate with a fumble as Timpview picks up the ball and, just couldn't do a lot with it, and that was kind of the story of this game. Nice throw there for Taylor Wilson. Taylor Wilson, the junior, you bet he's going to be the #1 recruit in the state of Utah next year. And he was just delivering dots all day long. Taylor Wilson looked like a star out here. Definitely best quarterback I saw today, although Valentino Martinez was pretty good. Then you have the guards Bryant Miller and Timmy Shelby. That's Bryant Miller right there. And then this is Timmy Shelby. These guys were really, really good all day long. They're great in the run game, less so in the pass game. You're going to see Taylor Wilson get beat up a little bit here. This might be one of those plays, actually. It is. He delivers the pass as he gets hit. Bobbled an interception. His only interception he threw, and it wasn't even his fault. But then you get to see Timpview's tight end here, and he was really good. That's Andrew Sanders. Andrew Sanders, more of a medium-level, mid-level vertical threat type player. Really good day for him. Back to Taylor Wilson, though. Look at this throw down the field. Somehow receiver can't make the separation to get the touchdown there. That should have been 6. And then Timpview with another mistake, a fumble. But on that play, Sean Allen, the center, absolutely dominated. Never even noticed the fumble happen because he's so busy dominating his defensive lineman. Another hit here for Taylor Wilson, delivering the pass. Guy was just unstoppable throwing the ball, even though he was getting hit all day, faced a lot of pressure. And then the cornerbacks for Lone Peak, this is their bright spot of their defense. Jonathan Ryan, here's Tim Jackson. Both of them got interceptions today. Jonathan Ryan, more of a raw athlete, while Tim Jackson really can do it all in the coverage game. You're going to see Lone Peak only ended up winning this one by 21 because of the pressure Taylor Wilson faced. One incompletion, and that one incompletion was his interception, which I failed to mention there. And here are the standings after week 1 of district play. You'll see everybody's really vying right now for that top spot. Still, Timpview, the only team that lost one out of district, so they're 2-2 overall with that one loss in conference. So with the high school recruiting done, we'll go ahead and take a look at who's interested in Olympia soon. I had to drive back into downtown and try to go to the office, try to get some administrative stuff. I want to see who all's going to be starting on week 1, who all got redshirted, and we'll take a look at that. As well as the NCAA would soon be releasing its All-Americans and whatnot. We'll get to see who we're matched up with. I believe from what I heard it would be Indiana as our week 2 matchup. So I'm excited to see Tyler Davis, of course the former Timpview prospect himself, play. You know, he was so close to winning a Heisman last year, so close to making the final the championship game, and then decided not to go pro. So he said, basically, from what I understood, Tyler Davis said his job's not finished yet. He really wants to see his team go to a championship game, and he wanted to give it all in his senior year. We'll see if that works out. You know, you got guys like Colt McCoy who did that once upon a time and led their team to a national championship game, but really hurt their draft stock incredibly, as, you know, they could have been like a second round or first round pick in their junior year, and their draft stock fell because maybe they didn't have the best senior season, or just they were older. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Indiana matchup as I finally made it to the office. And, you know, I think this is a dead even talent-wise matchup. Olympia has really caught up, and Indiana is not necessarily the cream of the crop talent-wise. They just were really good at winning last year. So we'll see going into this who's really got the upper hand. Of course, Indiana playing a pretty tough schedule, being in the Big Ten, getting to face a lot of top 25 teams. Their out-of-conference schedule isn't the most impressive, so, you know, I think they have a good chance to go 12-0 here unless we can beat them week 1. Of course, for us, you know, we have a really good out-of-conference schedule, even getting to face former coach Eric Cook, but our in-conference really has been weaker than we expected it to be. Tyler Davis is really their focal point, but they also have a senior Michael Gaddis, who I think could be really good running back for them. Not throwing it to the best receiving core, however, it seems like the tight end Derrick Henry, not King Henry in the NFL, will get most of the focus. And then their offensive line, I actually think is really solid, especially the right side of the line. I'm worried that they're going to do a lot to that right side. Defensively, I think this is a team that has some holes, but also is really shored up in most of the front four. Their linebacking core is decent. This is really just a good team all around. Nobody excels at any one position, I don't think, but they're really solid from front to back. So this will be a really tough game for us. We'll get to see how well this team is crafted going into this year. Tyler Davis, of course, he's almost at 10,000 yards. He'll easily eclipse that this year. Over 100 touchdowns for his career. This guy's going to go into some record books by the end of this thing. I think he's really has a chance to be the #1 pick in the NFL draft. The only question with him is his age. Michael Gaddis, of course, I think he's really scary as well, but Tyler Davis, not more of a running threat, so, we'll see what we can do. Got to get the pressure on him in week 2 rather. And of course, as our pipeline and recruitings go, right now it looks like we are so close to having New Mexico as a pipeline. Utah, Arizona, Colorado, the 4 corners are almost entirely ours. Of course, we'll have to get 1 or 2 more New Mexico recruits to really consider that our pipeline. And that's pretty much it. We don't recruit much outside of that. A few California recruits on the team, and then some sporadic ones here and there. Texas might be a nice market to break into now that we're in the Big 12. Might be able to get some players in from there, which, Texas turns out some really good talent. That might be where we look to start getting more competitive towards the top of the NCAA, not just the top of our conference. Because that's something we really haven't done a whole lot of. We had the one BCS bowl game, but we haven't really been able to be in the national championship conversation too much outside of the one Darius McIntyre year. So let's go ahead and look at some preseason rankings. And to no surprise, you got Georgia, Notre Dame, USC at the top. Ole Miss, although I don't think they'll be as good without their quarterback, who's now in the NFL on the Colts, Miguel Stanley. And then Indiana, top 25. Looking for Olympia. The NCAA didn't consider us very highly in their rankings. 37th. I thought that was kind of ridiculous. This team proved it's probably a top 25 team. It's just a question of our quarterbacking core, I think, and our offense. Utah State sneaks in the top 50, BYU as well. They're right around the same area. So the Big 12 getting some really good teams, I think. Just not top heavy as much. Really solid all around. And Utah at 59, I was not expecting that. Utah has really fallen from grace, and their recruiting classes have been very weak going forward. I don't know that they're going to be much of a threat. So you might be seeing Utah flip to more of Utah State and BYU being decent NCAA teams, Olympia being the premier Utah team, and Utah being the worst. It's just unusual, not expected. As we go ahead and finish out this preseason 127 teams, I believe it is. Of course, we have not expanded. 126, one off. And we'll go ahead and look at the preseason All-Americans now. Zach Schuster making it as the first wide receiver. You see Tyler Davis there, no shocker there. We'll get to play him week 2, obviously. Rashad Hines, he makes it as an inside linebacker. And then James McIntosh, no shocker there at cornerback. Darius Carter from Utah at strong safety. And Eddie Jong makes it as returner, although Derek Kanairi might be taking the lion's share of returning this year. Second team, Curtis Simpson makes it. I hope he has a big bounce back year. Lee Williams, thought he was very impressive. And then Jay Moore down the stretch of the season. If he'd have played like he did at the end of the season at the first, he'd have easily been first team. We'll go ahead and take a look now at Utah recruits. On the board, Stefan Gonzalez. You got Tim Jackson, who's currently not looking at Olympia. North Carolina first on his board. Razzie Scott Royal has Washington first. Chad Willis looking at Utah. Andrew Sanders more Minnesota. And then we keep going up here. It's just not a lot of teams looking at Olympia first. Eric Cook Jr. looking at Utah State, following his dad's alma mater. I don't know. You got guys like Bryant Miller looking at Utah. Valentino Martinez looks like he wants to be a Cane. Rome Wallace looking at Utah State. Stephen McFarland, Carter Christopher looking at Utah. Joel Fitch looking at Miami. Walter Graham looking at Utah. Timmy Shelby looking at TCU. So maybe that Big 12 connection starting to play a factor here. Sean Allen is looking at Olympia. Justin Bright is looking at Olympia. And McCole, though, he's also looking at Pittsburgh and Indiana, interestingly. So, I'm not sure. I expected the recruits to be more interested in us, and it seems like this year they're not so much. Might be a down year for Olympia recruiting if, especially the Utah recruits just aren't as interested. Of course, we have other prospects on the board, not from Utah. Of course, we're always looking at our pipeline states, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. But I don't know that we can rely on the Utah connection. And even my scouting might not do much for our team as much as it will other teams. Of course, we're going to release this for everybody. I'm not trying to gatekeep anybody. And if Utah has to use our film to further their team, then, shame on them. They should be doing better on their own. So we get to look to practice here. I have the official starting lineup at quarterback. You're seeing him right now. Wesley Dunmore, the week 1 starter. Another week 1 starter for this Olympia team that has pretty much only had Darius McIntyre repeat. I think Tyler Hunt started week 1 both his freshman and sophomore season, although he pretty much didn't stay the starter. But you're noticing at quarterback really just a lot of question marks, as Wesley Dunmore, not the best passer, but he showed probably the best passing ability in the spring game, and he was the best runner for sure. So he'll be getting the start week 1. You might see people rotate in. At wide receiver, of course, we'll have Kreese and Schuster take the outside roles, and then at slot, I think Rutherford will be getting most of the snaps. Corey Cross more of the red zone snaps. Kirk Doherty is still going to be our starting running back, and I do think he'll be more of a bell cow back. That being said, I want to see J.J. Thomas get a little bit more of a committee look. Hopefully we'll see a good balance between the two, because I think both of them are incredibly effective. At fullback, of course, we have Kevin Tate. Gordon Lawson, I know he impressed in spring game, probably was a fan favorite. He is being redshirted, but he will be pulled if we need the tight end or fullback help. And that's something that I wouldn't discount being a reality. Also, quarterback, Bill Chambers has been redshirted. I don't think you'll be seeing him, but he really impressed me despite being a really lowly rated recruit. I thought he looked really, really good. So we'll see. I don't think Bill Chambers gets his red shirt pulled. There's a lot of quarterbacks that we can go through in the worst case scenarios. But just something to keep a mind on, keep our eye on. And then on defense, it'll pretty much be the same as usual. Cornerback, of course, will have some new players like Mark Walker playing, freshman. But for the most part, it's going to be same old. Curtis Simpson, of course, Lee Williams. Both Lee Williams, as a matter of fact. Jay Moore, Sam Franklin. We got the same guys. I'm not super worried about the defense. James McIntosh, I think they're primed for a good year. So, I mean, at this point, the biggest question we have going into this first game here against Indiana, first of all, how will our pass rush hold up against a really solid offensive line, especially that right side of the line? You know, Pele Latu will be lining up against those guys. How will he do? Of course, he's more of a run-stopping player rather than a pass rush guy, but Latu has had nothing but great success since getting inserted in the starting lineup. I don't think that's going to falter, but he's going to face the toughest line I think he's faced in his career so far. So we'll see how he holds up against that. Similarly, our offensive line, how will they hold up against the pass rush? I thought the front four was the best part of Indiana's defense. If we can get to the secondary, we've got better receivers than they do cornerbacks. I think we've got faster players than they've got safeties. The question really is, how will our offensive line do against their front four? And the answer to that is, I don't know. We'll really find out, I think, a lot of answers to our questions come week 2 against Indiana. Tyler Hunt, let's talk about his job security. So obviously here at Olympia, I don't think there's as big of a rush to fire people. You know, you have somewhere like Clemson. Say Dabo Swinney has a bad year. Immediately people are going to be talking about, is Dabo Swinney out? And, you know, that's kind of ridiculous considering the guy's won national championships and, you know, is a high-level recruiter, but such is the nature of those big programs. You got the Texas where it's a hot seat every single year. Olympia is definitely not the same type of place. There's a lot more leeway, a lot less funding to go out and find those top-tier coaches. You know, you got Tyler Hunt, a first-year head coach coming right out of his college career. He only got to be 1 year as a high school coach before he was already bumped up to the Olympia starting, not Olympia's starting coach, but Olympia's head coach. And I think that was because of how much maturity he showed, both on and off the bench at Olympia as a quarterback. Of course, he is more of a quarterback's coach, and so you're hoping to see him develop these guys that right now are really struggling to separate from the pack. Maybe all three get developed really well because that's the type of coach Tyler Hunt is. I don't think he'll be on the hot seat, but I do expect him to have a good year, and if he doesn't, well, you know, questions will start being asked. You know, we had Eric Cook, and we appreciated so much success under him so quickly that we don't want to really fall behind. You know, I'm looking for 10 wins this year. 10 wins, I think, has Olympia number 1 in the Big 12 and potentially looking at a BCS bowl game. But anyway, that is it for me. I have to go ahead and wrap it up. I will see you for week 2 against Indiana coming up soon next Saturday. Thank you so much for watching and have a good one.